This is VERSED, powered by VIUM Capital, the podcast that brings you conversations with the leaders driving change in seniors housing and healthcare. I'm your host, Steve Kennedy, and together we'll explore the insights, challenges, and solutions shaping our industry. Welcome to the most recent edition of the VERSED podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kennedy, and I'm excited to have a business colleague as well as a friend, Mike Dury, as our guest today. Mike, thanks for being here.
Steve, thanks for having me. I don't do many of these, but you're a hard guy to say no to. So happy to be here.
Thank you for saying yes. So Mike is the president and CEO of Merchants Capital. As some of our listeners may know, Merchants is our joint venture partner at VIUM Capital and has been instrumental in our launch and our growth. And what we're going to do is delve into, a few topics from our origin story with Merchants, getting Mike's perspective on sort of the broader multifamily commercial capital markets and where senior housing healthcare plays in that space. And then talk about some other things from current events and other observations that should resonate with our listenership. Just so we can level set with the audience, what is Merchants Capital and what is the relationship Merchants Capital has with VIUM Capital?
We are to multifamily what VIUM Capital is to healthcare. So we are an agency lender, FHA. We do Fannie, Freddie as well. And we are wholly owned by Merchants Bank, a $20 billion bank. And as we go forward, we made a decision back in 2020, which I know we'll talk about here maybe in some detail, to partner with VIUM on the healthcare origination side. It is obviously a unique space. You need to know the right players and have the right relationships. Like we do in multifamily, the partners of VIUM Capital and the producers of VIUM Capital had those relationships on healthcare. And so that's why the partnership, for other reasons as well, but made a lot of sense for us. And so we're not the biggest lender, but we leverage our bank balance sheet with bridge, construction, other creative solutions to ultimately place loans with the agencies.
Thank you for that overview. And before we talk a little bit more about the relationship with VIUM, for listeners that aren't familiar with your story, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about your journey. How did you become president and CEO of Merchants Capital?
Gosh, 18 years. I've been with Merchants for 18 years. It wasn't called Merchants when I joined. I joined right out of school. We were very small. We were really just doing RD, small RD affordable loans. We did some FHA loans. We did have a Fannie Freddie license at the time. And I learned the agency business and really being a small company. When I say small, meaning 15 people or so, as you can appreciate at that company that size, and I know you experienced this launching VIUM, you're doing everything from originating, you're putting together underwriting summaries, you're closing deals, you're running down asset management issues. You're at the time, being a HUD lender, you'll laugh at this. Folks now don't appreciate this, but I'd go copy the 7 packages that I'd have to go deliver to HUD, and I'd put them in my car and I'd go deliver them to HUD. And that's how I met the people at HUD and turned into some great relationships. So I started in the business, learning it that way. And obviously Merchants has experienced tremendous success, most notably acquiring a small bank and then growing that bank to what is now Merchants Bank. Went public in 2017, and at the same time acquired an agency lender out of the Northeast. And that's when we acquired the Fannie Freddie licenses. Again, still focused on the same thing we were doing since the company started. Multifamily, affordable. We had done some healthcare. And when I say healthcare, Steve, I mean maybe 1 or 2 HUD lien deals a year. We were not prolific at all by any means. As you know, that was your former shop. We continue to just grow bridge to HUD and what our capabilities in the affordable space. And so it wasn't until 2020, and I know we'll get into this, where we wanted to get into healthcare. And we didn't have the originations to do that. We knew how niche it was, how operator focused and how important that was, and of course the owners as well. And we did not have those relationships, which is why really our relationship started, Steve. We're so happy with where it's gone since that time. People ask all the time, gosh, did you join wanting to be the president and CEO? And the answer is no. I think I saw an opportunity where the owner, who's still one of the owners, the 2 owners, Mike Petrie and Randy Rogers, hired me to learn the business. They paid for my MBA. I wanted to go back and further my education, especially concentrated in finance. So really finance, real estate was always appealing to me. And then as I got in, I think the opportunity to lead people. As I've grown in my career, that is what really excites me. It used to be closing deals. I believe me, I still love when deals close, but now it's leading an organization, seeing others have success, and being able to think strategically, work with our leadership team, work with your leadership team, to make the right decisions to move us forward. That's what I get excited about. And so, yeah, it's been a fun journey. I'm very appreciative of that journey, and it's not over. Obviously, we view this as we're kind of just getting going. So
That's great. It's so neat to listen to that and reflect. And you talk about, delivering hard copy HUD applications to the HUD office. And I'm going back in my mind to, our previous shop, Lancaster Pollard, being an analyst and making hard copies and going to the HUD offices. And it was different, but it really allowed me also and a lot of my colleagues here at VIUM to learn the business. And then you mentioned, having two mentors, and Mike and Randy, and I was fortunate to have the same thing with Tom Green and Brian Pollard, and being in a growing company with leaders that you respect and you learn from, but also give you the opportunity to lead. So thanks for sharing that. And before we get into some of your perspective, sort of on the general markets, from multifamily commercial down into senior housing and healthcare, maybe take a step back to we met before 2020, obviously, when VIUM was launched. What's your recollection of sort of that origin story and taking it to 2020 and taking it to now, where we're off and running, but we still want to do a lot bigger things?
yeah, it's funny. I don't remember the exact date or the exact event. I remember running into you at the HUD roundtables, and we'd strike up good conversations. We've talked about this before, but we had a common bond where we were both familiar with this high school here called Providence Cristo Rey, which has a very cool model where the students, high school students, are from tough economic backgrounds, and they're given opportunities to come work at companies, and the companies help pay for their tuition in private schools in Columbus, and there's one in Indianapolis. And I remember, I vividly, I tell this story. I've been now very involved with this school here in Indy. I've been on their board for 5 years, and I never would have probably done it without meeting you. And I'll never forget, I was talking about, well, I don't know where I'm gonna put the kids, and it could be a burden on our people. And you just said, Mike, just do it. Trust me, do it. You will figure it out, and you'll thank me for it. I tell people who are contemplating whether or not to do it, I say the same thing. I tell them that story, which I love that story. So I developed a respect for you as a person and as a human being. And I guess I could kind of summarize it by, we could clean your clock in multifamily around the Midwest. You could clean our clock in healthcare. There is a mutual respect for that. Whereas, we were able to both obviously grow our business and grow relationships respectfully, compete, love competition. I think competition is great. We could be friends, but be competitors. We have a lot of competitors that we're friends with. And so, and obviously things changed. You had some change going on at Lancaster Pollard, and obviously we were looking to grow. And I remember the one round table, you said, hey, let's meet and talk about what's going on. That was the first time we sat down and talked about what could be. And then I remember driving over to Columbus and had some more conversations about it. I tried to get you to come to Merchants, which I think, you wanted to kind of recreate what the folks did at LP. And so we created this joint venture, and it's worked out fantastically. So
That's great. It's a great summary. And listeners are probably picking up on, you got a competitive side, and listeners might not know Mike was a prolific pitcher at Notre Dame, and that athletic prowess comes out in the business sense. But also, I love you hitting on that Cristo Rey. I think when I first talked with you about that, I had just joined the Cristo Rey Columbus High School board, and when you can connect with people, obviously business, but when you can connect on a deeper level from a values perspective, you start to see things lining up. And I think both of our firms, have similar values and similar cultures and people. So that's fun. It's fun to reminisce.
thanks, Steve.
So
If prolific means low 80s, middle relief, left-handed, slow. Yeah, I'll take that. My playing days stopped after college. But yeah, no, you're right on Cristo Ray. It's just it's so cool, and I know you guys have kids. We have kids. We've grown our partnership since then. I did find out that you all are number one or number two in the network of adding jobs, and we're right behind you. It really upset me, to be honest with you. We were number one, so we got to get back on it. But I was happy to see it's you, though. No surprise.
No, that's great. Well, that's sort of classic, like healthcare, senior housing, kind of being number one, multifamily two. But I digress. Let's look to the market. Seniors
Yep.
housing and healthcare is, as you and I both know and appreciate, especially with our respective roles on the commercial and multifamily board of governors with the MBA. The commercial multi space is a relatively large space, and senior housing healthcare is, only a part of that. And so as you've kind of come across coming from the multifamily commercial space, but gotten to know the seniors housing healthcare space, what's maybe a misconception people still have about financing senior housing and healthcare?
I think I think this, and this is not just in healthcare, but this is, I think, in general. I think people think with the evolution of technology and AI, and of course, we're on teams that relationships don't matter, and that just couldn't be further from the truth. I think that what I've appreciated the most about VIUM is the deep relationships you have with your clients. You understand their business deeply. You understand, and not just their business, but the broader landscape of what's going on in each state and what the trends are, and the reimbursements, and where to stay away from, but where to lean in. We pride ourselves on being that strategic thinker and advisor in the multifamily space and healthcare. Whereas when we go talk to clients, we're not selling them on a loan product. It is listening. It is developing relationships. It is trusting. It may be advising them away from your organization based on what they need. And I think that that gets lost. Whereas, you just think, you're beating on people, calling, and here's what I've got. Here's my rate. Here's my terms. And it's just taking that step back. And really, people see that's authentic, that's genuine. And VIUM Capital does, I think, the best at that. And so then the deals we see and we partner on work out great. Of course, our bridge book is active. Our bridge program is active, and those loans are financing out with FHA just like we intended. So, yeah, again, I think more of relational versus transactional, that's just not changed at all. And quite honestly, I don't think will.
We agree 100%. Those relationships, have been forged over time too, back from our LP days and continue. And it's neat to see some of our younger bankers growing up and establishing those relationships. And, those are going to grow into really valuable relationships for the client, but also for our team over time. But you do have to take sort of that long-term perspective to develop that. And then your comment about AI, and that's such a salient comment. And I know Connor Zierden, one of our young managing directors, just did a virtual response to sort of that in the senior housing and healthcare market. And at the end of the day, we're serving not commercial real estate, really. We're serving places that are taking care of grandma and grandpa and rehabbing after a surgery. And that human touch is such an important part of the businesses we're financing. So I appreciate that comment.
Steve, I think as I look at our businesses, you've got obviously CRE, which is a massive space, and you start to distill down these segments within CRE. And so for merchants and VIUM, it's housing. It's housing, it's affordable housing, workforce housing, and then seniors housing, right? Everyone deserves a safe place to live. And that is something we've always believed in, and it really drives a lot of our why here at Merchants. Yes, we have to run a business and make decisions that help us be profitable and allow us to reinvest in our company and run a successful bank. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get lost on people, whether it be with VIUM or on the Merchants Capital side of what we do and why we do what we do. So yeah, no, you're totally right, and I do think that, of course, technology and AI is very, very critical. You better embrace it. It's here, and it's changing the way we think, operate, and it's helping us gain efficiencies. And we better embrace it. Obviously, that's something both merchants and VIUM have taken a close look at. And banks are notoriously slow there, so we've got that going for us. But we've got to be better. So we're looking at constant ways to improve.
Yeah, AI is remarkable. In fact, this isn't even me right now. This is a bot that was generated, and it's really impressive. That bot would give me a little bit more hair, but that's, AI is evolving. From your chair, what trends are you seeing from institutional investors in terms of appetite for healthcare and seniors housing debt? As you know very well, and as some of our clients know, we have a healthcare debt fund, and that fund is in partnership with merchants and provides a bridge alternative compared to bank bridge, with the same thesis of ultimately refinancing those loans permanently through HUD, Fannie, or Freddie. But talk about,
Right.
from your chair, sort of the evolving appetite from investors about the healthcare senior housing product.
Great question. And it's interesting, Steve. When we launched, we joke, I think we launched April Fool's Day 2020, COVID, right? And a lot going on. And of course, seniors housing, COVID, why would you start pouring into this space with how awful things were at the time? But we did. Gosh, I mean, we had some record years in production. And at the time, you're right, there wasn't a lot of demand. We were one of the only bridge lender options out there. And so spreads were wider. The competition just wasn't there. And then on the fund side, we were able to generate great yields for investors as we set up our fund that was outside of merchants, but merchants participated. And we were able to track some friends and family retail money there to go raise this fund that has been fantastic. I think to date, we haven't had a default in this fund. It's been great return, great yields. And so our investors have been very happy. We've continued to grow that fund. But fast forward, I think we've seen a shift where it is very competitive. Banks are back in the space. Spreads are coming in. Leverage is higher. I think, and this, Steve. I'm not telling you something you don't know. But in multifamily, cap rates got so low, so it really strained cash flow. As rates went and cap rates widened, we had some stress in multifamily. Well, in healthcare, what was the lowest the cap rates got in the senior space? I mean, 12, something like that.
For skilled.
Yes, yeah. So
Right.
that allowed the cash flow, and these loans are underwritten 145 plus DSCR, so there's tons of cash flow. So you
Right.
didn't have that issue in healthcare, and these loans performed. These loans are turning over to the secondary market, so it's a great story, and therefore now we're seeing competition pick up, and that's why we're being very strategic, working, of course, with you and your team, Steve, on how do we better compete. And it's not just spread, it's not just terms, it's not leverage, it's all of that. It's all of the above. So how do we position ourselves, our producers, our team to go capture the right business with the right sponsors? And the last thing I'll say, Steve, is if we've learned anything from what's happened over the last couple of years with interest rates rising like they have had, sponsors matter a whole lot. And so those sponsors that are well-heeled, transacting today, I think, obviously took care of their lenders, paid on time.
Sure.
Maybe it didn't work out exactly like they thought, but they communicated and ultimately fed deals when they needed to get them to the secondary market. Well, those clients now are who we're leaning in with, and who a lot of other lenders are leaning in with. If you're out buying now and your REO looks clean now, well, you've done a heck of a job, because it's been so hard for all these borrowers, right? Trying to deal with what happened with the rise in SOFR and even the long end too. So again, those are things that a lot's happened in 4 years. But fast forward to today, it's really created a very competitive landscape.
That focus on quality sponsors has just been heightened, everywhere. But I know at merchants, at VIUM, you learn who you want to do business with, and some folks you don't want to do business with, and that's something institutionally we're learning, even though we're still a relatively young company, and appreciate merchant support in that effort. Let's shift just for a question or two on sort of the leadership strategy front. No matter who's watching this, whether you're a senior housing owner or administrator or somebody serving the senior housing healthcare space, takeaways from a leadership perspective, can be valuable. As you've seen merchants and been a key part of merchants' growth and scale. Talk about maintaining culture. And I know that's something important to us. It's important to merchants. What's been able to keep sort of culture strong at merchants over the past few years?
I love our culture. Obviously, I believe in it. I think we have the best. That's why I think we're so aligned with VIUM. I feel very strong about where VIUM is going, where merchants is going, and where we're going together because of our cultures. And we've been very intentional around that. I think for us, Steve, as I mentioned before 2017, you're talking about one location right here all together in the office 5 days a week. And then now, fast forward, we've got New York, Washington, D.C., obviously you guys in Columbus. We have Chicago. We have Minneapolis, St. Paul. We have other bank branches that we've opened. We have warehouse operations in South Florida, out in Pennsylvania. So now you've got expanded locations. And really for us, it wasn't even a COVID thing or post-COVID. We have different work in office expectations that really didn't change during COVID. We were we were at home for a little bit, but then we got right back to where we were pre-COVID. So those office expectations have been consistent since everyone started working for merchants. And I just bring that up because I do think it's important context to kind of who the company we are today and how that can make culture more difficult to not just maintain, but to grow. To me, I don't ever believe in just maintaining culture. You got to be growing it. And so we really work on our leadership team. And I tell folks, yes, production has been good, financial performance, we grow head count, things we're very, very proud of. But number one has been our leadership. If you can recruit, empower, and put good leaders together, like every office I mentioned to you, I can tell you the leader who's leading that office, who is fantastic, who drives our culture. Maybe we're different, right? New York, and I joke with our team in New York, maybe different people think of New York and old Midwestern differently, but no, those key things that are non-negotiables, we are right on the same page with. And so that culture rings true with the whole organization. So having the key leaders in these offices, we do have our folks that are remote as well. And so really we have a management team of around 20 people, key senior leaders and above. We're really consciously talking to them about what it means to work here. We have the no jerk policy at merchants that we do talk about and we do enforce. If you're a jerk to people, you stand out like a sore thumb here. It doesn't work out for you. For better, for worse, that's who we are, and we're not changing. And so those are things that I think people appreciate, sort of having a humility, and not looking over your shoulder all the time, letting you go. We talk all the time, like we're hiring you for a reason, to do a job and go. We don't want to tell you what to do. We hired you so you can show us what we should do. Challenge us, right? Those are things we constantly reinforce with our team. And again, it's never done, right? But I'm very proud of our culture, and it's hard to maintain that as you grow. But it's just something that we always think about.
Yeah, we align on, no jerk policy. We have the same thing. Humility. That's not just naturally sort of grown out of being headquartered in the Midwest, but the people we hire, you want to lead with humility. And especially in an industry like senior housing healthcare, we're talking about caring for residents and people's loved ones. So I appreciate all those comments. And as I think about your all's expansion, it's important you guys have some presence in Columbus through us, because you could name New York, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, but without Columbus, it really kind of doesn't bring the full package. So, all right, let's pivot. Rapid fire closing questions. And then I'll end with a question I ask all of our esteemed guests on VERSED podcast. What is one leadership principle you live by?
Humility. And we talked about it earlier, right? It's just no matter what your title is, you're never too high to do the little things, to say hi to the person cleaning the bathrooms at night, ask who they are, know who they are. Those little things, I think, really do matter. And being okay with recruiting folks that challenge you, knowing that you may not be the smartest, I'm not, I know that, in different areas, and not making people feel threatened by that. That's fine with me. And again, allowing people to challenge you, speak up, I think you'll learn a lot. And so I think listening, having humility, to me is confidence, is really a leader having confidence in himself or herself, that I think is very, very important to be able to lead it, especially as Merchants has grown. That's something that I continue to do.
If you were not leading Merchants, what would you be doing?
That's actually easy. I would be a baseball coach.
Professional baseball coach?
Absolutely not. No, probably at the high school level. I'm coaching my kids, which I absolutely love. But if I weren't doing what I'm doing now, which, by the way, I love what I'm doing, but it would be coaching probably at the high school level. I just think that the ability to impact young people is the greatest gift. And obviously I have a background, but going and being impactful, I remember all those coaches. I learned a lot of life lessons through my coaches as I was playing. I'll never forget the story of my college coach, who's a Hall of Fame coach. We had meetings, and he would teach us how to pack for road trips. And at the time, I'm thinking, how stupid is this? But it was preparation. We talked, here's what you do the night before. And it was those, the fundamentals and things I learned, I still do today. How do I prepare for meetings or business trips or my family? How do I be a good father, husband? Those are things I learned in athletics, and I want to give that back. And so that's an easy one. I would definitely go coach.
What a great answer. All right, finally, is there a book or podcast besides VERSED, that has inspired you recently that you would maybe recommend to someone, a book or podcast?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's a book. Our friend Brennan Healy will love this. It's called Raising Men. It's written by a Navy SEAL. Actually, I wrote his name down. Eric Davis. And I had 3 boys, and I do. There's some Raising Daughters is next for me. I got to read a book on that because my daughter's 4. I'm learning on the fly. I thought I had it figured out until I had a daughter. But it really talks about how to be present. And obviously, we're balancing a lot with business and life, but how to be present and what that looks like. And the book is fantastic, and it's through the eyes of the Navy SEAL, and learned kind of how they SEAL training and how that relates ultimately to raising your son and becoming a man. It was awesome. I love those type of books. So when I travel, I can throw on Audible and listen to that stuff. And so that was the most recent one. And I've got to, I don't have it figured out, but now I've got a daughter now. So I've got to figure that it's a little different. So I'm looking forward to my next book on that.
Yeah. As a dad having a son and a daughter, it is a little different. And Healy will love that recommendation. And I'm glad you clarified that Eric Davis was a Navy SEAL. When you say Eric Davis, to me, a Cincinnati boy, baseball, I think of one of the best baseball guys in the 80s. But well, Mike, it's been great catching up. Thank you for saying yes to this. We appreciate the partnership, and hopefully listeners, have learned a little about sort of not only VIUM and Merchants, but the perspective of seniors, housing, and healthcare, sort of in a broader picture, but also leadership. So thank you.
Steve, thanks. It's been a blast.
Well, thank you for joining this latest edition of VERSED. We'll look forward to putting on another fantastic podcast in the near future. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning into VERSED, powered by VIUM Capital. The conversation doesn't stop here. Let us know what topics you want to hear, and let's make an impact in healthcare and seniors housing together. Until next time, I'm your host, Steve Kennedy, and this is VERSED.